Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you for the opportunity to speak to you all about stakeholder involvement in the work of Supreme Audit institutions and the role SAIs have in increasing trust from citizens. I realize that this has been a wonderful, fruitful and interesting, but also long day. Lots of information, and I hope that many of you will return home with new ideas and new contacts as well, and that you will help your offices progress even further. In my contribution today, I will highlight a few examples concerning involving stakeholders in the Netherlands, and I would also like to draw your attention to the activities of Eurosci and the shared interests of all of us. And with those examples, I will focus on relations and communication with stakeholders, looking at this especially from an institutional and strategic perspective. And to help you relax a little bit, I would like to start with showing you a short video which was put on our website only last week.
Wij zijn de Algemene Rekenkamer. De Algemene Rekenkamer controleert of de Rijksoverheid belastinggeld uitgeeft op een zinnige, zuinige en zorgvuldige manier. Dat doen we al meer dan 200 jaar. Onze taak ligt vast in de grondwet. Onderzoekers van de Algemene Rekenkamer controleren de inkomsten en de uitgaven van de Rijksoverheid. Elk jaar op Verantwoordingsdag publiceren we of de Rijksoverheid belastinggeld goed heeft geïnd en netjes heeft uitgegeven. En daarover rapporteren we aan de Tweede Kamer. Maar de Algemene Rekenkamer controleert ook of de overheid doet wat ze belooft. We onderzoeken namelijk wat de resultaten zijn van kabinetsbeleid. Bijvoorbeeld, werkt het inburgeringsbeleid? Hoe snel gaat de politie over tot actie na een aangifte? Worden de belastingen efficiënt geïnd? De Algemene Rekenkamer stelt telkens de vraag: krijgen burgers waar voor hun geld? En velt daarover een onafhankelijk oordeel. Met onze onderzoeken helpen we de Tweede Kamer met het controleren van kabinetsbeleid.
Het is de komende jaren aan u om namens alle Nederlanders te controleren of belastinggeld zinnig, zuinig en zorgvuldig wordt besteed.
De Algemene Rekenkamer draagt feiten aan in het publiek debat. We werken ook samen met rekenkamers in andere landen om de kwaliteit van ons onderzoek te verbeteren. En we delen onze kennis met de rekenkamers in bijvoorbeeld Tunesië, Tanzania en Albanië. De Algemene Rekenkamer geeft meer inzicht in wat de overheid doet, omdat we vinden dat inzicht de basis is voor vertrouwen.
So what we try to do with this very short film is to show to the general public what we do and why we do this. It's very general, and to you as an audience of experts it might be even too general. But we use this film to reach out to people who are not familiar with audit work. And if we're really honest, then that's the vast majority of the population of the Netherlands. And we also use it to send out a positive message. Because more often than not, SAIs are shown in media within negative reporting. Not that there's negative reporting about the SAI, hopefully. But SAI reports themselves are usually focusing on what went wrong. And there's a negative message. And that negative message may also reflect on the messenger. So the video tries to show the Netherlands Court of Audit in a positive view with a positive message. Now, you saw Mr. Visser, and at some point in the video you actually saw him speaking in Parliament. He very much regrets that he cannot be here today, because tomorrow is actually Accountability Day in the Netherlands. And then all the government ministries and the Ministry of Finance publish their accounts in Parliament. And Mr. Visser will then, just right after that, will present the opinion of the Netherlands Court of Audit on the accounts. So this is probably the 1 week in the year that he's unable to travel anywhere. And the same goes, of course, for the other members of the board. This presentation that he will have in Parliament tomorrow will conclude the accountability year of 2017. But it also concludes months of very hard work for many people in our office, auditors and management, of course, but also communication department, IT staff, HR department, even the cleaners and all other people that support the organization in achieving the goals. So Accountability Day is really the pinnacle of our core business in our office. And to illustrate that, and again, to explain to the general public what it is that we actually do, and maybe more importantly, what's in it for them, is we also published an animation last week. And if we could see the second video now, that would be really great.
De Rijksoverheid ontvangt jaarlijks zo'n 280 miljard euro. En geeft ook ongeveer 280 miljard euro uit. Op Verantwoordingsdag brengt de Algemene Rekenkamer in kaart of de overheid dat zinnig, zuinig en zorgvuldig doet. Dat gaat als volgt. Op Prinsjesdag presenteren de ministers hun begrotingen en nieuwe plannen voor het komende jaar. 1,5 jaar later, als al het geld is uitgegeven, brengen de ministers hun jaarverslagen uit op Verantwoordingsdag. De Algemene Rekenkamer controleert de jaarverslagen als onafhankelijk controleur. De Algemene Rekenkamer geeft inzicht of burgers waar krijgen voor hun geld. Door 3 vragen te stellen. Is het geld volgens de regels besteed? Zijn de zaken goed geregeld op de ministeries? En levert het beleid het beloofde resultaat op? De Algemene Rekenkamer velt daarover een onafhankelijk oordeel. Op deze manier helpen we de Tweede Kamer met het controleren van het kabinet. En weten burgers of hun belastinggeld zinnig, zuinig en zorgvuldig is besteed. Op rekenkamer.nl kun je lezen hoe het kabinet het afgelopen jaar heeft gedaan. De Algemene Rekenkamer geeft meer inzicht in het presteren en functioneren van de Rijksoverheid. Omdat we vinden dat inzicht de basis is voor vertrouwen.
Right, well, that was again to explain something more about the work that we do. As an audit office, we are constantly looking into new ways of communication to bring our message across. So communication with stakeholders such as Parliament, auditees, press, general public. And this very short, informative animation explains accountability, but also how the general public benefits from accountability. Now, I say general public, but this animation is just as informative for auditees, the press and members of Parliament as well. And that brings me really to my point of showing these 2 short videos, because they may be directed towards the general public, but they also make an impression on our stakeholders. And this impression is all about managing expectations, creating influence, increasing understanding and achieving impact. Because we keep repeating the same words in these videos: independence, trust, understanding. So, and that sends out a message to not just the general public but stakeholders as well. Now we've published these 2 videos on our website, but we'll also use them in social media like Twitter and Facebook, LinkedIn, and we use them in campaigns to attract new staff, for example. We use our website and LinkedIn to publish every month a blog from one of our board members, which we then again promote via social media. And we do this not just because we find ourselves so absolutely wonderful. Now, we do this because we think that our job as auditors and the independent position that we have is absolutely vital in a healthy democratic society. And that means that we also have the obligation to point that out, both in good times and in bad times. And after all, even though we are strongly embedded in the Constitution, that is no guarantee that we actually achieve what we are supposed to achieve, which is to help government collect and spend money economically, efficiently and effectively. Let's give a more concrete example of how we do these things. At the end of 2017, the new accountability law came into effect in the Netherlands. And it took us and the Ministry of Finance 16 years to come up with this new law. And that was completely not our expectation. 16 years is really a long time. And many things are now arranged for the better. But we believe that there's still a quintessential element missing in the accountability chain. Central government currently uses in the Netherlands an obligation cash system, and we actually recommend that it moves more towards an accrual system. Many other public authorities in the Netherlands, like municipalities and institutions at arm's length that carry out a statutory task, already use that accrual system. And as you know, many of the member states in the European Union and will use an accrual system as well. And let me give you a quick quote from a recent letter to Parliament from us, and that is, the government's reluctance to make a definite choice is striking. The government had announced it would introduce an accrual budget and accounting system for the whole of central government as long ago as the budget memorandum of 2001. So that means that 17 years we're already trying to get the government to move towards an accrual system. I will not read out the entire letter. If you're interested, it's on our English language website. But it illustrates that it's the tip of the iceberg, because over the last few months we have been creating let's say a current in the public debate to draw attention to this issue. In every conversation with Parliament this came up, in every conversation with auditees this came up, and we've been writing regularly in magazines and national press on the benefits of accrual accounting. For example, there was a feature article in a weekly magazine, and it's not just because we want to start a debate, but it's really because we want to be part of the debate, because this is so important to our work. We want to be part of the debate, and we want to influence the debate. Because the accounting system you use has a very significant impact on how you work and how you can do your work as an SAI. It also has an impact on how you cooperate with other organizations, both nationally, so from national level to the local level, but also internationally. And it even has impact on the people you hire, as they need to have the right set of skills to do their job. Maybe another example where we use the press, that you will be, of course, familiar with the European banking supervision, where there were Supreme Audit institution of 5 European countries: Austria, Cyprus, Finland, Germany, and the Netherlands. And we concluded in a joint report there's a growing audit gap in public supervision of banks in the Eurozone. Well, the conclusion of the task force was endorsed by all Supreme Audit institutions. And in December last year, Mr. Kai Scheller, the president of the German Bundesrechnungshof, and Mr. Visser together published an article, Mr. Scheller in the German Handelsblatt and Mr. Visser in the Dutch Financial Daily, to draw attention to this issue. For us, as Netherlands Court of Audit, this led to considerably more attention from an expert audience, and it put us again in the center of the debate, giving us an opportunity to have a louder voice and stronger influence on both government and Parliament. Right. I've been speaking about managing expectations, generating debate, gaining influence, mainly on a national level, but the same actually goes for an international level. As most of you will know, the Netherlands Court of Audit serves as a member of the EuroSci Governing Board, and part of that role is that we are developing a strategic portfolio on relationships with non-SAI stakeholders. And that means that on behalf of EuroSci, we approach and we speak to organizations that potentially share a common interest with EuroSci, and that subsequently we connect these organizations to specific EuroSci goals or working groups. It's something like, you may interpret our role as the public affairs officer of EuroSci. And we aim to develop relations for EuroSci with these non-SCI organizations on 7 strategic themes. And the themes are divided along the EuroSci strategic goals. So professional cooperation, capacity development, and then there's something on EuroSci Governing Board strategic relations, so a more institutional issue. And over the last couple of months, we've been visiting organizations, and they were all very happy to speak to us. However, there was one conclusion for us, is that they did not know that EuroSci existed. And they were not familiar, they did not know that there's an international community of SAIs. And maybe that's a missed opportunity for us. So, because they were on our stakeholder list, but we were not on their stakeholder list. So we think that's definitely something that we need to work on if we want to create a relationship of mutual benefit with these types of organizations. One of the tasks we had set up for ourselves is to prepare a manageable, simple framework for stakeholder management for Eurosci. And we develop that as we go along, based not just on theory, which there's a lot of. I can recommend the IDI program on stakeholder management. But we also have a great variety of sources and our own experiences. And over the last couple of weeks, we've been working on mapping possible stakeholders in the field of accounting and financial institutions in Europe. And this is the map. I know you can't read it, but I just want to illustrate that this network is very extensive. There's so many organizations just in Europe, or that have an influence in Europe, and that work in the field of accounting or financial relations. And there are a lot of personal relationships between some of these organizations. And what we saw is that there's not many people from SAIs in that network. So maybe it's a question. So maybe we are missing out. Maybe we're not. But let's imagine that we, as an SAI, you want something from Parliament on a certain regulation. So let's imagine you go up to Parliament, you walk up to Parliament, you're standing there waiting until you get led into the room, but you're in line because there's other organizations there as well. And in front of you and behind you are all these other representatives of financial institutions, accounting organizations in Europe. So that all of a sudden you're just one voice with all these other organizations. And that may be quite a challenge to meet. Well, maybe I'm describing a negative scenario here, because who knows? They might have the same position as we as an SAI or as Eurosci have. But the fact is, we will never know if we have the same position if we do not talk to them. So we need to talk to these organizations, at least to exchange information on positions, exchange knowledge as well. Look towards the future together. What are emerging issues to serve the best interest of our institutions? So how can SAIs actually increase the trust of citizens? Well, one of the things, by working together as SAIs together, but also with other organizations. And I don't want to become too philosophical at the moment. It's been a long day, but I don't want to ask. I'm going to ask the questions. I said I've written down, and I don't want to ask the questions, but I will. What kind of trust are we actually looking for, and trust in what is it that we actually seek? And what is actually a citizen? Is there something like the citizen? But I think the first simple step for people and SAIs alike is to start with yourself and your own institution, your own procedures. And we were very pleased to note that the Eurosci Governing Board has in its last meeting called upon its members to perform an InterSaint within the next years, so as to lead by example. And actually most of the Eurosci Governing Board members have already confirmed that they will do so. So I think that's a very good step forward. And of course, every other member of Eurosci is also very much welcome to look at their own organization through an InterSaint or an SAI PMF exercise and learn where their performance is already good and where their performance can be improved. In 2015, to commemorate the retirement of President Saskia Stuyveling, the Netherlands Court of Audit commissioned a book called The Art of Audit. I think many of you will have at least have seen it, or maybe have read it. But if I had to sum up what this book is about in one sentence, then that would be it's about the people, not the system. Audit work is about the people that do that work and those that support them, and it's about the opinions that they form, and the courage that they have to operate in a world that sometimes can be hostile. And the art of audit is also about how audit work is received and appreciated in order to increase the people's trust in the public sector. And what it does with the people's money, supreme audit institutions need to communicate what they do and how they work. And audit work is very much about explaining complex, sometimes very complex problems and complex solutions as simple as possible. And let me finish off now by saying that only more transparency will lead to insight, which then will lead to understanding, and which then in its turn will lead to trust from the general public. Trust is not something that is given unconditionally. It is something that has to be earned. And SAIs have a significant role in providing that transparency, insight and understanding. And as long as they keep reminding themselves that they act on behalf of the people, they will definitely succeed in that. Thank you very much.